Good morning, Warriors! Back with another episode of Bigger Warriors 2, the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are on your purpose. Yeah, guys had a nice weekend. And hope you guys continue to move ahead with all the great things that you're doing. When you retain, you gain. I heard that the other day. I thought that was a nice little saying. I can't remember who said it, but I see so many more people in the movement, moving ahead, artistic motivation. You got lots of people doing stuff. A lot of great type vitality, I think, is another one. A lot of great places doing stuff, and I'm glad to see that more and more and more. There's one guy that I like. He's got glasses. I don't know. He's a young guy, and he looks better in shape than I do. That's for sure. But I think that it's great to kind of have you guys focusing on it. It looks like more and more people are recognizing the importance of this journey that we're on, and I think we're turning things around one person at a time, slowly. I think our subscription is going up. I think it's 432, something like that. So we keep going with this and keep pursuing it, and I'll give you my perspective as I go along. I'm on, I think, 12 days of monk mode again, and I think 773 days, something like that, on regular, no FAP and all that kind of stuff. So we're moving ahead. I think I'll probably do one on at 800, just to kind of keep us, every 50 or something like that, if I get to that point. And so we're moving ahead with it. I think as time goes on, the actual if you get into a habit of it, you're not really even thinking about it. And I think that's the key. And I think we've said this, a lot of people have said this, is a lifestyle change. And when you're talking about a lifestyle change, you're basically changing who you are and what you're focusing on. And instead of focusing on women, focusing on the girls around you, focus on the things that you're doing that want to make you strive ahead. And I think that's the key to a lot of it we're talking about. So striving ahead and doing it. Now, it's always important to recognize the things around you. And so I'm glad to answer questions from my perspective and comments. We did one yesterday on Can You Dig It? I appreciate Jim. Thank you for your comments. And I'll probably try to do a video on some of the stuff that people are sending in pretty soon as well. I think there's one more I've got to catch up with, and I never did get that one with exercising. I have to get to a room where I can actually go ahead and do the exercises, but I will do that soon as well. So, but anyway, today I focus on something that I see I see a lot of people kind of talking about it. So I figured it is an important discussion. I think it's something that's sensitive to a lot of people, and so I'm never been one not to go ahead and take on sensitive type issues and things like that. So let's talk about feminism a little bit here. Now, for those females in the audience, I'm not going to say anything negative about it necessarily. I think there's a lot of strong female, especially those on retention, who are out there using strong feminine energy, and that's great. But the key thing to me is recognize the history a little bit here and recognize what this has become, because like anything else, there's good things and bad things in this, and I think you have to kind of see how the approach is different and how we look at it. Now, many years ago, and I was a kid when this was happening in the late 60s, early 70s, you had the women's liberation movement, and you had people like songs like Helen Reddy and Bobby G. King, who beat, I can't remember his name now, but a tennis player, and there was a lot of these women who were going for equal rights and things like that. And obviously there was some abuse, and there's other issues there that had created that, just like with all the movements of Martin Luther King, in the 60s, and Malcolm X and all that. There's reasons for people who are pushing against society to change things. And I think that there is some validity, and a lot of good things came out of the women's liberation movement. But as time goes on, like anything else, what ends up happening is these things change, and generations put their own interpretation on these things. And as you see the interpretation of it now, it has changed a lot from the original interpretation. And what ends up happening now is that it affects how we interact as males and females. And I think it's important to realize that. I think that from a male perspective, you have to be very understanding of this and understanding how this works. Now, some of you young guys who are in a dating situation, you realize what's happened here. Some of us older guys who really have not been into a lot of that recently, I hear from a lot of my students, and I talk with them and try to get an understanding of what's really happening here. So I think once you establish that, you know, men, women are equal, which of course they are. They've always been equal. We're all equal. Every human being is equal to each other. That's just a given. Though a lot of people may, you know, argue with that, dispute that, and try to say that that's not true out there. And there are people who are evil people that are not going to treat people equally. But the thing is, what you're looking at here is you're looking at the idea that as things grow, they become corrupt from the original purpose. And the original purpose obviously was try to make sure people had equal things, and they were actually looked upon as equal. But what's happened is that you look at the purpose of males and females, and they have radically changed. And this is what's happened because of that movement. And a lot of women, in my opinion, have been sent down the wrong path, looking at this whole idea of what the new idea of feminism is. I mean, for a lot of years, they're focusing on women having only careers, not having families, and trying to focus on those type of things to make themselves self-sufficient. And I have no trouble being self-sufficient. But as men, as we have found over the years, especially some of us older, realize that it always comes at sacrifice. Men work hard all these years, but they're sacrificing a lot of home life, which a lot of times the female, because of their nurturing nature, has been very good with their feminine energy. But what happened is that a lot of these females who've been taught to go ahead and have careers of this, A, is good for them, B, it attracts men, are finding out the hard reality, especially as they hit 30 and over 30, that the market for these high value males are not the same. Actually, it's decreased. And as time goes on, it decreases. And the reason for that is because a lot of the males who are high established, six figures, all that kind of stuff, they're not really interested in the older females. They want the younger females because it's a biological thing. And this is the issue that a lot of these young feminist women are running into. They're running into the issue that it's hard to find a good male. Now they could say, well, they don't need males, but that I think is incorrect. I believe males need females and females need males. And if people tell you they don't, well, those are the ones that are going to be living with cats for the rest of their life, right? And nothing wrong with cats. I have cats myself, but they don't have any kind of relationships. They have nothing, no love interest, no nothing, no soulmate, because they basically have kind of chosen to take a different route, which is fine. You know, if they are happy with that, more power to them. But I see so many people complaining, whether people tell me they complain on TikTok, which I don't have, or Twitter, which I don't listen to, or all these other types of things, YouTube videos, all these type of complaints that they can't find a real man out there. Well, the problem is not the real men, even though I will argue that I would support the premise that a lot of men are being dumbed down because of pornography and all these other types of things, and not holding their seed and things like that. So I will agree with that the men are becoming weaker, and there's always men out there, these simps, beta males you can find all the time, who basically will just go along with whatever the female wants. But the female, no matter what demographics, no idea you're talking about here, they want a strong male. They want someone who has strong masculine energy. They're attracted, as we said before, to men who hold their energy because that's a disciplined man. That's somebody who is disciplined enough to get things done and can accomplish things. And because of that, they're basically going ahead and they are now looking for that type of male. Now, the trouble is that the females, they only have a certain amount of time they can have children. And, you know, even a woman as a child is 40, by the time they become 25, 30, you're talking they're almost 70 years old. And so even from a standpoint of age, not only from a biological standpoint, it's very difficult for them to have children as they get older. It's also more dangerous. So the thing is that as you look at this, the ironic thing about this is females were told in this new type of interpretation of feminism that you got to have this career, you don't need men, and that you basically still can have a family at 30, 35 years old. Well, what's happened is that they can't do that. A, because biologically they're running out of time, which they know, and B, what ends up happening is that a lot of the males, their age, I mean, of course they could probably find a younger male, but that's not going to happen very often. But finding an older male, which a lot of females like people who are stronger, and sometimes males are older, they're not going to happen because a lot of those older males are looking more for younger females so they can reproduce, procreate, right? And so they're not going to go ahead and look at that. And so that's why a lot of these females, there's tons of them out there who basically are just looking for somebody who is going to make them better. The problem is that now they put themselves out of a range. Their expectations are higher than reality. And I think this is what's causing the problem when it comes to the new feminist type of movement. The idea is that they put females in a situation where it's untenable for them to have a family. Now, some of them may never want families. Well, that's once again more power to them. But females inherently want to have children. And I've not met too many females who biologically do not want to have children. Now, they may have to emotionally and all that eventually go against that. But the idea is that you have to have some level of responsibility. And this is why we see all these problems with people not knowing reality when it comes to, abortion, all these other things. They say, well, it's my body and my choice. It's not really your body. It's God's body. And so is my body. I mean, we are a temple for God, right? And if God wants to have children, we have children. I mean, it's a very simple type of situation. However, because of all these people who believe they're God in the world, they have now kind of changed this whole feminist type attitude around. And as a result of that, they've come to actually hate men, which obviously doesn't help their situation too much either, because they have low respect for men. They don't want men, and whatever's left out there, they struggle with. So now you see a lot of angry females who basically become like men, and that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a lot of females out there who they don't ever say that, but they actually are acting like men. And that was never the intent and purpose God had. And I think this is where you become into a really dangerous situation for us. Now, how do we react to all this? Well, we see things happening. We see the MGTOW movement, which I become familiar with, men who are kind of just walking away from these situations. They're basically not saying, I'm not putting up with this stuff, right? I'm not putting up with disrespect. I'm not putting up with this idea that, men are the evil of the world, or so-called evil of the world, right? We're not going to put up with this kind of nonsense. And so they're walking away. They're basically not going to go ahead and entertain dating with someone or going with someone who basically is that has that type of attitude. And it's really the attitude more than anything else. I mean, there's nothing wrong with women's rights, and there's nothing wrong with any of that kind of stuff, but it's the attitude that a lot of these feminist people have now, that they hate men. They've been told that men are evil, white men especially, right? And all this kind of stuff. And so it's just nonsense on top of nonsense on top of nonsense, but it serves a purpose for them. I think it's motivating them, for them to sell a narrative and sell a certain idea. And so they're going to continue doing that. And I think the schools don't help a lot either. And I'm part of the school system, and I'm very disappointed over the years of how we've kind of done all this and what's happened with this attitude. But it's that a lot of the females end up hating males. But they become like males. And so this is part of the problem. They want to compete with males, and they want to do that, but they don't realize that over the years, thousands of years, the funny thing about this whole thing is that when you look at history, females have had dominance, whether you want to put them in positions or not, means nothing. Most women, if they have a man who loves them and is willing to do anything for them, they have total control over that male. Because they will do anything for the male, and the male will do anything for them. This is what we call submissive. Both people are submissive. When we talk about submissive, this is not some like slavery type of thing. And this is where people get this all messed up and wrong too. It's really talking more about the fact that you are giving to that person while the person is giving to you. And this is a head-shifting situation where both people are doing things. The male's in charge of the family, the female in charge of protecting the family, and the female is in charge of the nurturing the family, making sure everything is strong in the family, and they keep the relationship. So when 50% divorce now, a lot of this is happening because the females and the males have lost their way. You have males who are acting more like females, and females who are trying to act like males, even though biologically the energy is not there. This is the thing that is just so remarkable to me. Even when people try to be transgender and all this other kind of stuff, they try to sit there and say, okay, I am now a female. But you know, unless they're losing energy all the time, they're still a female. You know? And they're still a male. And the other ones are still a female, no matter if they want to say they're a male or not. Because energy-wise, even though you can go ahead and take all this medicine and do all this kind of stuff, you're going against nature. You're going against God. And that is never good. And that's why you see in the Bible they talk about the gnashing of teeth when you're talking about women who are lusting for women and men are lusting for men. And I don't give a care about talking about, you know, Pride Month. It used to be Pride Day. Now it's Pride Month. And it's just a sin, you know. It's a sin. And when you're talking about a sin, that's something that God is not going to put up with, you know. So the thing is going to be important to recognize that as you look at this and as you see this, you're trying to talk about the fact that when you look to see, okay, what is the thing that we need to do to be able to be strong and continue being the way we are. And when we look at relationships with females and males, we're trying to say, okay, we need to go ahead and realize how females are. And the younger females now and the males that are in situations, a lot of females, they want to have their fun in the 20s, and they're going to sleep with as many men as they want to, and they're not going to have any kind of moral restrictions with it any longer. And they're going to go ahead and basically, work, make their money, get their positions. But the idea is that a lot of them are going to end up being by themselves by the time they're 30. Because as you have these relationships, you're not going to have any kind of trust. And from the male perspective, you have to be careful of that. Now, depending on your goals, depending on your long-term plan, you may want to choose to do that, or you may choose not to. That's going to be your goal and your idea. But I think as you focus on this, be aware of what's happening out there. And this is kind of why I'm just giving this more as an information from my perspective, what I'm seeing at the college level, at the high school level, what I see with people around in general, over the years, the trends that I've seen in history over the history. The idea that you're looking at here is you're looking at males and females trying to switch roles, and it never works. It didn't work back in the Roman Empire. It didn't work in old England. All these places where the same stuff has happened. And it's not going to work here. It's going to end up in a Sodom and Gomorrah situation. And so my recommendation is stay on your path. My recommendation is going ahead and saying, okay, we need to look at this and have our goals. And if we find somebody we want to procreate with, wonderful. But don't lose that power you have. All right, my friends. Have a great day today. Battle on. Thank you, Jim. Thank you guys for commenting. And have a great day.